everyone. Welcome to the first AMA of Uniris. With me today we have Nilesh, our co-founder, and Akshay, our chief product officer. We have done a couple of AMAs in French and a couple of Telegram AMAs, but this is our first English AMA for a community. Please do give your feedback and the topics that you would like us to cover so we can do more videos in the future. Let's start this. So my first question would be for Nilesh. What inspired you all to start Uniris? And looking at the number of blockchain projects in the market today, what is Uniris's edge over other projects? Over to you, Nilesh.
Sure. Hi, Vishnupriya. Bonjour à tous. I'll give you a quick background. Me and Seb know each other for decades now, well over a decade. And we worked together in past on mobile money project in Africa. Sebastian was with Orange and I was part of the development team which created the mobile money product. So we have been friends since then. Both of us loved the whole Bitcoin concept, that where decentralization was enforced through code and through consensus, right? So both of us loved that concept, and in 2015, Sebastian called me and said that, let's do something in this field. We started thinking of some ideas, what should we do. One of the best use cases, to be honest, that came to our mind was decentralized marketplace, because when you are looking at decentralization, you need to create a decentralized peer-to-peer marketplace, which is a truly double-sided platform whereby the market is not at mercy of any aggregator or any other forces, but the seller and buyer are in its true form present in the marketplace, right? So a peer-to-peer marketplace, a two-sided platform was the idea. And we started thinking of, we never thought of creating a protocol for that. So we started looking at Ethereum and could we create a peer-to-peer marketplace on top of Ethereum. Now the problem that we immediately faced, first one was scale, right? So if you look at 15 to 25 transactions per second, probably if your marketplace took off, probably just one city will scale up to that kind of transactions per second, right? So you are at mercy of scale. You will never be able to provide a marketplace which is capable of handling thousands of transactions per second, and that is reality, right? I have worked for MasterCard, and when you look at credit card transactions, you are talking in terms of 35,000 to 50,000 transactions per second. So scale was one issue. Second issue was that the whole blockchain is pretty much in a kind of nerd and technology domain, right? So if I was looking at a real peer-to-peer marketplace, right, whereby a farmer is wanting to sell his fresh produce and there are buyers, right? Already the farmer will have to understand the basic underlying technology, but to top it, you will now also have, this whole private key, cryptography, and all those things will have to be managed, right? So it was just not going to be, it's just not user friendly. And we used to just joke about it that can you make can Sebastian's grandma use this technology, right? Can we make it grandma proof? And the honest answer is really no. I mean, private key management is a headache even for me. I mean, so the second aspect was simplicity and inclusion, right? So these were a couple of factors due to which we thought that we need to design a whole new protocol grounds up and design a simplified way of accessing this protocol. So to kind of wrap up the answer to your question, what is unique, or what is the USP for us over the plethora of blockchains that are in the space is, firstly, we can provide the required scale. That's one. Second, we will provide a very simplified access, right? Hence, it will be a very inclusive blockchain. And third is, I mean, without going into the details, while developing the platform, we are able to create a kind of consensus mechanism which makes it very highly secure, and probably we'll talk about it during this conversation. So essentially, it is not at mercy of a 51% attack kind of stuff. So think of it like scale, simplicity, security are the three S's that kind of we are living with.
Great. Thank you for answering this well for our community. So we will now move on to the next question, and I will come to you now, Akshay. So Uniris uses Arch consensus, which is first of its kind. So in layman terms, I mean, how do you explain Arch consensus to the community? If you could just answer that.
So, today in the world of computer science, consensus is just an agreement reached by the peers in a peer-to-peer network. Blockchain has seen an evolution in terms of consensus from proof of work in Bitcoin to proof of stake to proof of time, etc. But all these consensus algorithms have their advantages and disadvantages. But on the other hand, Arch is very uniquely placed and is backed by the powerful mathematical law called hypergeometric distribution, which combines randomness and entropy of the peer-to-peer network. So in layman terms, today, say around 10,000 nodes run the Bitcoin network, and all the 10,000 nodes validate all the transactions. Same goes for Ethereum, where all the 75,000 nodes validate all the transactions in the network. So hence, a lot of energy and time are consumed to validate the same transaction by all the nodes. But with Uniris Arch consensus, only 200 nodes are needed to validate a transaction, no matter the size of the network, or in other words, no matter the number of nodes in the network. With this, Arch consensus is able to achieve a scalability of more than 1 million transactions per second, and is 3.6 billion times less energy consuming than Bitcoin, and can even handle a 90% malicious attack.
Great. Thank you, Akshay. We'll come back to you in some time. I'll now move on to Nilesh. So Nilesh, we have some great partnerships. So I wanted that if you could throw some light on some of those partnerships and give a brief background about our roadmap and the priorities that lie ahead for us.
So let me talk about the partnership. We have some very important academic and research partnerships. We are partnered with École Polytechnique in France. This is the foremost technology institute in France. And the reason for these academic and research partnerships is primarily the analysis and review of our technology, right? So if you look at it, we have taken our time to actually launch this protocol. So it has been reviewed by academicians, it has been patented, it has been peer reviewed. So for this we needed academic and research partnerships. We are also partnered with CNRS, which is the National Scientific Research Center in France. It is the most important research center of France, and one of the researchers there is also our advisor, Dr. Bernadette Sharon Boost. And a lot of work that she is kind of the authority on P2P networks, and a lot of work that she did on P2P network has kind of inspired our design of peer-to-peer network. We don't use most of the blockchains today use something called a gossip protocol for peer-to-peer network. We are using something very different that reduces the bandwidth and the chatter between the nodes. And again, all this is feeding into the scalability that we talked about, right? How to scale this whole thing. So CNRS and École Polytechnique are very important for us. Other than that, we are partnered with BPI France. They have invested in us. They have provided us seed funding. and they continue to support. BPI France essentially is a French arm, investment arm, government investment arm, and they essentially promote technical and innovative companies in France. So BPI France is a very important partnership. Other than that, there are a couple of industry partners, and in post mainnet launch, we'll be able to really talk about it, because we'll be launching a couple of projects with these partners. So let me jump on to your roadmap question, right? So today, I mean, for next rest of the year, essentially we'll be completely focused on mainnet launch and its stabilization, right? So that is of utmost importance to us. Other than mainnet launch, there is going to be one product for sure that we'll be launching, a communications product, and probably Akshay will talk about it since he's the kind of the product manager or the CEO of that product. And we'll be launching that product post mainnet, and we'll also be launching, what I mentioned earlier, 2 projects with backing of industry stalwarts, right? And that is the time we'll announce those partnerships. These 2 projects will also be done on the mainnet. So essentially, in a nutshell, the launch of mainnet and then launch of products to promote the ecosystem and working of the blockchain.
Thank you so much, Nilesh, for answering that. Exciting times ahead for Uniris. I will come back to you, Akshay, now. Just like Nilesh mentioned, as a product person, what are the sectors where you feel a blockchain like Uniris can have a significant impact? What is the vision that you have for the product in mind?
Yes. Most blockchains today are focused on payments or other simple use cases where they could easily showcase a very high scalability. But with Uniris, we would like to start off by solving one of the toughest problems in the decentralized space. That would be the email. So let me take an example, right? For payments, a person on an average does 2 to 3 payment transactions, and the payment transactions are very light, so which means they consume very less space. But for emails, a person on an average does 200 to 250 emails, both sent and received, and each email is anywhere between 10 KB to 70 KB in size. And on top of it, the emails might have attachments of sizes anywhere between 1 MB to 10 MB or even 20 MB. See? Hence, with Uniris, we would like to start off by solving one of the toughest problems, like the email. Like as you know, Uniris is not only a blockchain solution, but also a biometric solution. So by synergizing these two, any type of a smart contract or marketplace or even a smart city application can be built. Both the blockchain and the biometrics technology have been certified by the French CSF to participate in major sporting events like the Paris Olympics 2024 or the Rugby World Cup 2023. So this would mean that potentially many decentralized applications can be built around smart city, which leads to a self-sustaining economy.
So coming back to you now, Nilesh, because Akshay just mentioned this word biometrics. So combining blockchain with biometrics is truly revolutionary. So I mean, how do you explain this to how did the idea strike your mind, and how do you simplify this for our community?
Yeah, so let me go back to my first story. That how do you make this technology grandma proof, or how do you ensure that a farmer is able to sell his produce, right? Using a blockchain based peer-to-peer marketplace. So simplicity was one of the reasons why we thought of combining biometrics with blockchain. So idea is that if a person is unable to use the whole private key management and stuff like that, can I use a biometric information for the person to access the blockchain? So that was the basic idea. But now, when you look at the current biometrics, the available solutions, they are essentially centralized, right? So if we are creating a decentralized product, we needed to think of a solution which is decentralized, biometric solution which is decentralized. When I say they are centralized, today's biometric solutions, what I mean is that essentially you will be providing a pattern, right, or some biometric information. In case of finger, it is a finger pattern, it can be retinal pattern, voice, clippets. You will store this biometric information into a database, right? And when the user presents himself again to access a service, you will compare that with the pattern that is stored, and based on thresholds you will either deny access or provide access. Now what it means is single point of failure. So essentially you are storing all the biometric information in one place, and there is all the possible hacks which are possible with any centralized system are all there with a biometric solution also. So this is what they call scoring biometrics, and it is still at the mercy of all the hacks and all the issues that are related to centralization. So we wanted to think of firstly a biometric solution that can be decentralized. So we call our solution as crypto biometrics. What crypto biometrics essentially means is that you take biometric information, right, and use that information to create a private key. So you use a crypto processor to create a private key. Once a private key is created, you are in the same realm, right? So your private key will be used to access the blockchain. It will unlock or decrypt your identity chain or whatever data you have you want to propagate, right? So that was the whole idea. So we are looking at a decentralized solution to biometrics, doing it through crypto biometrics, and hence simplifying access to the blockchain. So that's a very simple term how this will work. Now you mentioned how to go about it, and what is our take on it for our users, right? So when we launch the mainnet, right, in a couple of months, essentially we will be starting with a security that is based on TPM. TPM is something called Trusted Platform Module. Okay, so day one, the mainnet, the way miners will access or join the network would be through TPM. There is a very interesting podcast that we did, and we can leave the link to that podcast in the description of this video. We did a podcast on that. We are probably one of the first blockchains who is using TPM for miners and how they join the network, right? That would be our first step. The second step would be essentially we'll provide a key based mechanism to again access the network, right? Why I'm saying key based is, so the whole idea is that when I talk of our crypto biometric solution, it will take some time to industrialize such a solution, right? So from day one, the crypto biometric product will not be available. So we'll start with TPM, then there will be a key based solution, right, which will be again doing the same thing, providing the private key to access the blockchain, and finally we'll reach a time when our product is ready, whereby the crypto biometric device would be used to access the blockchain. So what I want to tell the viewers and our community is that the design of our blockchain is identity driven and secure. The whole architecture is woven around identity and security, right? So while we'll reach the crypto biometric and the final stage, even in initial stages, what we have ensured is that we'll use a trusted platform, we'll use a key based mechanism, but the identity is at the heart of it by design, right? So that's my quick thoughts about biometrics.
Thank you, Nilesh. I think that simplifies it for the community. I think for this particular AMA we are done. We've covered most of the basic questions around our brand Uniris. So thank you so much once again, Nilesh and Akshay, for your time today. Before we wind up this video, a big thank you to our community, our partners, our supporters who have given us the motivation to come where we are today. Please provide your feedback, the videos that you want us to do, so that we can in near future answer all your queries and be there for you. And for those who are seeing this video for the first time, all you need to do is become a Uniriser and join us in the mission of making the world truly decentralized again. So thank you.